So we are in the middle of the beautiful Rasa Krida or Rasa Lila. We saw the Gopi Geetam of the cry of the gopis expressed in the most poetic manner, expressing their pangs of separation. At the end of this Gopi Geetam, where they cried out for the Lord, Krishna suddenly appears there. So we saw how first when Krishna invited them with his song of the flute and they all assembled, and they were all together, the gopis had a little bit of pride that they have Krishna to themselves. And because of that pride, Krishna disappeared. And they then went into this true mood of complete surrender, expressing their inability to reach him with any of their efforts and just making a plea for him to appear. So, this is very symbolic of what happens in anyone's sadhana as well. When one, as long as feels one can reach God, realize God through one's own efforts, he seems elusive. We saw this also in the Damodar Lila, where Yashoda couldn't tie Krishna up with ropes, how much ever long ropes she got. And then finally, when she gave up and surrendered, Krishna allowed himself to be bound. So that was in the mood of Vatsalya Rasa or parental love. The same symbolism in a very deeper and in a most intimate way is expressed in Madhurya Rasa with the gopis and Krishna. The gopis too thought they have Krishna, and because of that they felt slightly proud, and the moment they felt it, Krishna disappeared, causing them to be in this complete mood of surrender. And when they surrendered fully in this way, and they let go of all sense of me and mine, and also recognize Krishna as the only truth, they said, in fact, beautifully, one of the verses they say in this Gopi Geetam was, Nakalu Gopika Nandano Bhavan Akhila Dehinam Antaratmadrik. They say, you are not just the son of the Gopika. Nakalu Gopika Nandano Bhavan. Akhila Dehinam, of all the embodied beings, Antaratmadrik. You are the inner witness or the inner seer of all. So when they recognize this and thereby fully surrender unto him, not as the other but as their own very self, then it is said that Krishna makes his appearance, and Krishna appears in the midst of them, and they are all overjoyed. Every gopi surrounding him is suddenly feeling this great exuberance. It is said that their limbs start moving like the one who was dead woke up. When life comes back, or if one falls unconscious and consciousness comes back, how suddenly he springs up. That's the way in which the gopis are described to move now. They were completely lifeless without Krishna, and now that Krishna has made his appearance amidst them, he springs back to life. They spring back to life, and each one of them express their love in so many different ways. One just takes Krishna's hand and puts the hand within her hands. One puts her arms on the shoulder of Krishna. She wants to imitate how Krishna would stand. So we saw how even when the Viprapatnis came, Krishna's very standing posture was described so beautifully that he would stand with his right leg crossed over his left leg, bent at the hips, and one arm was resting on the shoulder of his friend. So, in the same way, one gopi comes and tries to put her hand on her arm on Krishna's shoulder. Then another gopi comes and takes the betel nut that Krishna is chewing in her hand as prasadam. Then another gopi looks at Krishna as if she is angry. So she wants to show how she is angry that Krishna disappeared from them without telling anything. And in that anger of this gopi, there is so much love for Krishna. And then another gopi, she looks at Krishna without blinking. Her eyes are so fixed on him, and she's looking at him without a single moment of blinking, as if defying nature, and she is consuming Krishna. On the other hand, another gopi does the very opposite. She takes Krishna's image and closes her eyes completely right in his presence to hold him within, because she says to herself, I don't know when he will vanish again, but I will lock him in my eyes. So, in this way, everyone is doing their own way in which they are beautifully interacting with Krishna. And he is there wearing this beautiful yellow silk. And it is said that he is attracting even the Cupid with his looks. It says, Pitambaradaraha Sragvi Sakshat Manmatha Manmataha. Manmatha is another name for Cupid, or he is also called Madana. So that is why Krishna is called Madana Mohana. Madana is the one who attracts everyone, and the one who attracts Madana himself, one who deludes Madana himself, is Madana Mohana. That's why there is a famous temple also in Vrindavan called Radha Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan refers to the one who deludes the one who deludes all. So normally everyone is deluded by Madana because of the feeling of this romantic love, and Krishna deludes him too because his beauty is so bewitching that even he is attracted to Krishna. So that's why here Parikshit is told by Shuka Brahmam that he is Sakshat Manmatha Manmataha. Yet he is Manmata to Manmatha. And so every gopi is acting in this way. It is said here, Sarvasta Keshava Aloka Paramotsava Nivrittaha Juhur Virahajam Tapam Pragyam Prapya Yatha Janaha. Even here, Shuka Brahmam has a beautiful simile. He says, Keshava Aloka Paramotsava Nirvrittaha. That is, when Keshava has appeared among them, it is Parama Utsava. It is the grandest festival. There is nobody there, only Krishna and all the gopis are there. And yet it is the grandest festival. There is nothing else. There is no other paraphernalia. There is no other anyone else. But this is the grandest event, the grandest festival of all, because it is the oneness of Bhagavan with his devotees, with his pure beloved. So, Parama Utsava, and they say, here Shuka Brahmam says, it is the gopis are freed of their grief just as people are freed upon seeing an enlightened being. He says, Tapam pragyam prapya yatha janaha. So normally people are caught in the suffering of the ego, of me and mine. And because of that, people are always engaged in various worries, anxieties, speculations, desires, hopes, fears, all of this. And when they meet a truly enlightened sage, the enlightened sage tells them the most liberating wisdom, that they don't have to take all this load upon themselves. All the load that they are carrying is simply because of ignorance. So, one beautiful example given by Ramana Maharishi, for instance, is how when we go on a train and or any vehicle for that matter, it is ignorance to carry the luggage on our shoulder when the train can carry the whole thing. So we can simply, once we get on the train, put the luggage on the floor and rest. So similarly, here the train is nothing but the divine energy that's making everything happen. So we think we are doing it, but in reality, everything is done by the one supreme being. In fact, if you go to some temples, there is an image of a small little being as if carrying the whole temple on him. So the image is there. There is the Gopuram, the tower, the temple tower, and it is as if one small being, entity, is carrying the temple tower. So that is the delusion of all of us is described there. Just as the temple tower is standing on its own, and this small entity, the carving, is only part of the very temple tower, and yet it seems to be carrying the temple tower. Similarly, we are part of the divine energy and we seem to be carrying it. We think that way, we are deluded that way. So, the enlightened sage tells us that you don't carry anything, you simply surrender unto this one divine energy which carries everything. So, that's the reason meeting an enlightened sage relieves one of all suffering. So here Shuka Brahman gives this beautiful metaphor and says, Gopis meeting Krishna is like people meeting an enlightened sage, in that their suffering is relieved completely. Of course, Krishna is an enlightened sage, is the supreme being, is the beloved, is everything, and therefore all suffering is instantly relieved for the gopis by just seeing Krishna and being with him and being able to have this intimate association. So the moon is still shining bright. It is the Sharad Purnima, as we saw, the full moon night of autumn. The autumn full moon is especially perfect because the full moon during the monsoon season is covered. There is always some clouds and so on. So the full moon, even though it's there, it's covered by the clouds. And that is why the Guru has to come and reveal it. That's why Guru Purnima actually comes in the monsoon season, because what it symbolizes is that even though the full moon is hidden, it is the Guru that reveals that the full moon is ever present in our heart, even though the mind seems to be clouding it. And when the Guru Purnima reveals the Guru Tattva, then it results in Sharad Purnima, which is the clear autumn moon, where there is no clouding of the moon and there is only the bright shining of the moonlight. So that's what this full moon of the autumn represents when the Rasa Lila happens. So it is the Guru that leads us to the union, and that's why Guru Purnima leads to Sharad Purnima. And in this full moon of the autumn, when the moon is so bright shining, the light is so clear, like it's almost daytime, and Yamuna is, especially with white sand on the banks of Yamuna, is very clear. So in this beautiful setting, they all assemble, and then the gopis, out of their love, they take their scarves and make a seat for Krishna on the very banks of Yamuna, on the soft sand. They want Krishna to sit down and they want to sit around him. So they put a beautiful throne, as it were, of their own scarf. So it is said that Krishna, throughout his earthly stay, is on so many great thrones. He is in the throne of Mathura, throne of Dwaraka, and many other great thrones. But this seat, offered on the ground with the very scarves of the gopis, is the most beloved throne of Krishna, because it is the throne that is in the hearts of the gopis. So, seated there and honored by them, the Lord, who stands enthralled and enthroned in the hearts of the gopis, was shining there like the full moon surrounded by the stars. So, just as the full moon in the sky on Sharad Purnima was shining, on Yamuna's banks too, there was the full moon of Krishna surrounded by the stars. And there the gopis ask a very beautiful question. They ask him very nicely that, O Krishna, there are those who love the ones who love them. There are those who love even those who do not love them. there are those who do not love even the ones who love them. So tell me what you are now. So it's very nice question. See, there are people who love only those who love them. And then there are people who love those who don't even love them. And then on the other extreme, there are people who don't even love the ones who love them. So gopis ask, what is the situation of your love, in a very mischievous way? So Krishna first explains and says, those who love only those who love them, that is, they simply love as a transaction, he says, for them it is only self interest. So this is what we see in the world normally, that people are nice to those who are nice to them. So he says, Mitho bhajanti ye sakyah swartha ekantodhyamahite na tatra sauhridam dharma swarthartha tadhi na anyatha. He says there it's only self-interest. If you are nice to me, I'll be nice to you. If you love me, I love you. So that is self-interest. Then he says those who love even those who do not love them are compassionate. He says, Bhajanti abhajato evai karuna pitaro yatha dharmo nirapavado atra sauhridam cha sumadhyamaha. He says like parents do. So parents, he gives the example of pitaraha, means mother and father. They normally love unconditionally the children, even if the children don't love them. So the love of the parents is the example given here for those who love out of compassion. He says, Karunaha pitaro yatha. They are compassionate like the parents who love unconditionally. And then he says very interestingly, there is a third type they said, right? The ones who are the other extreme, where they don't even love the ones who love them. So he says, Bhajato api navai kechid bhajanti abhajatah kutah atmarama hi apta kama akritagnya gurudruha. He says, those people, now we will think that they are the worst kind of people who do not love even the ones who love them. But Krishna says they can be of two types. Don't be so fast in judging them, because one is, of course, he creates akritagnaha gurudruha, that is those who are ungrateful. They even do not even love their guru, they do not even love their preceptor, they do not love anyone, because they are so full of their own selfish interest. They not even are capable of loving the ones who love them. They are akritagya, they are ungrateful. But then you will see the same behavior, he says, from Atmarama Aptakama. He says the one who is a perfectly enlightened sage will also not show any love for the ones who love them, because for him there is no sense of other. So that is the most mysterious thing. When we go to a true sage, we may not see the expression of love the way a saintly being would express, because the difference is, for a sage there is no other. Once when it was asked to Ramana Maharishi, for instance, how to treat others, he simply said there are no others. So when one has the recognition that there are others, only then the question of loving them, whether they love me or not, all these come. The one who does not perceive others at all, for him, love is the only reality. There is no expression of love in any normal expected way, but there is just the very presence which is love. So that's why Krishna says, for the sage, Atmarama, one who is fully situated in the self and in the bliss of the self, there is no expression of love. So he also will not show any love, even if you go and love him, show any love to him. And then Krishna says, now I belong to none of these categories, because Krishna, he belongs, of course, to every category, because Krishna, being the source of the divine energy, it is he who comes as the one who loves like a businessman. It is he who comes as the one who loves like the parent. It is he who comes as the one who cannot love even the one who loves him, like the ungrateful being. and it is he who comes as the divine sage, who is love itself, who doesn't express love but whose very being is love. So Krishna says, therefore, I do not belong to any of this, but I was away from you only to enhance your love. He says very beautifully that your love is so supreme. He now glorifies the gopis' love, and he says, your love is so supreme that the only way for me to enhance that love is to separate myself from you for a bit. And we will see the same later too, why Krishna goes away from Vrindavan and doesn't come back to Vrindavan is for the same reason, because the love of the gopis is so high that Krishna tells Uddhava too later that the only way to enhance that love is by being away from them. So here also for a brief time Krishna is away from them to enhance their love, and now he says, I am back and I cannot ever repay the love that you are having for me, because your love is of the highest nature. So Krishna glorifies the love of the gopis. And now, after this beautiful exchange on the banks of Yamuna, they all get up and now they are ready for the most beautiful Rasa Lila, the dance of the Rasa, which we shall see next time.